Quick Hits.
It's time for Hobby Quick Hits. A sports card podcast where we tackle the hobby's hottest topics in depth to help you navigate the sports card landscape and enjoy the hobby we all love. Here's your host, John Newman.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Before we get this show going, I don't know if I announced it on this show yet, but we're happy to be on the Spreaker Prime Network, part of the iHeartRadio family. We've moved over there from Anchor, and things are going very, very well. You may even hear a national ad or two during the show or end of the show, but happy to be part of that network. So with that being said, today's show is about attachment, right? And we can get attached to a lot of things, right? We can get attached to people. We can get attached to, things we collect. In this case, we are going to talk about that with cards. We can get attached to a TV program where we binge watch it, So the word attachment can, come in sort of different forms of things we might be attached to. And I'm only going to obviously be talking about sports cards and how attachment is not always bad. Attachment doesn't have to be a bad thing. If you're passionate about something, maybe you're a super collector of a player, and you're trying to get one of every card. Good luck to you, but you get the premise of being a super collector, and you're attached to that super collection. And so attachment, I don't want it to come across as a negative connotation, but it can be. And I'm going to give some examples during my hobby career where attachment kind of hurt what I was setting out to do. And, I remember in my store days, I opened a store in 1992 with a partner of mine, and we had it for about 5 or 6 years to 97, and that's when I sold my half out. And my partner at the time, Angelo, he anything he got or owned, he put in the showcases with a price on it. Everything was available. I had sort of a different MO. I had cards that I didn't want to sell them. Oh, man, I can't get rid of this. And so I started getting that attachment to cards. It's hard to explain. It wasn't necessarily a particular player all the time, or even a specific set that maybe I was fond of. It was sort of just individual cards, maybe the story behind how I got it, or I pulled it out of this pack and it just was a good memory, and I felt sort of like I shouldn't sell it. And so a lot of times I'd have these cards at the shop, and I don't know how many of these kind of cards would qualify under these attached where I wouldn't sell them, but people would come in and maybe ask for that card, not even knowing they had it. Hey, I'm looking for this card. And if it was one of those cards that I was, had an attachment to, I might say, yeah, I got it, but it's not really for sale. And, oh, okay. And my partner, Angelo, I remember him saying, like, dude, if you're not going to sell, like, whatever you don't want to sell, why don't you just bring home? And maybe you shouldn't, like, if someone asks for a card and it's one of those cards, maybe you shouldn't even mention that you have it if it's not for sale, because it kind of rubs them the wrong way. Like, how you have a card store and you're not, you have the card, but you won't sell it to them. It might piss them off, for lack of a better way of saying it. And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, he's kind of right. Like, I got to do one of the two things he said, right? not mention that I do have it, and not, rather than say, yeah, I got it, but it's not for sale, just say I don't have it, or just bring those few, those cards that fit that description home, and not even have them on site. And it's weird when I think back now, like with those certain cards, like why the reasons I didn't sell them wasn't legit. When I look at it now, they're not really legitimate. When I thought, in the moment at the time, I had my own justification why I'm not going to sell this, and I lost selling opportunities. Many of those cards would sell, and some of them were were good money cards. I remembered, I don't have it now. I wish I did. I remember one of those cards in question was a Jordan Beam Team. It was out of a box I bought myself and opened, and I pulled a Jordan Beam Team. And, at the time, I mean, it's going for way more now, but even at the time, it was a hot card, and bringing, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 bucks, which we think about now, like, oh my God, I'd buy them all day for that, and then some. I mean, now they're thousands of dollars. But, I remember pulling the Jordan Beam Team, and it would have been an easy, quick sale, and I just just the fact it was Jordan, I pulled it, and I got that attachment to it. It's hard to even define attachment, like what causes it, why did I sell, 92% of what I own, but that 8% I didn't, and so, that Jordan Beam Team, I had it in the shop for a little bit, then I took it home, but I could have sold it numerous times. I wound up eventually letting it go, but it was actually probably years after, and I lost on a lot of sales like that, and even other times where, I've kept cards like that, maybe thinking that they were going to go up, and then they didn't, and when the music stopped, I still had the card, and the demand was gone, and so you lost an opportunity to transact that card at a pretty decent rate, and now that card is very almost undesirable. You're going to have a hard time selling it, period, and if you do, you'd be lucky to get what you get. And so, it took a lot of trial and error of that for me to break that sort of hold. And again, it wasn't every card, it was just certain cards, and sort of all over the place, but it wasn't even guys that I PC'd, which I didn't, I did PC more back then than I even do now. And I think the reason I don't PC as much stuff now is learning that I got too attached to that stuff. And so I try not to be that way even now. Now I don't even have a card store. I do sell cards, but I don't have that brick and mortar. And it's funny, and things can work in reverse too. I sold a ton of Derek Jeter 1993 SP rookies in a 3-year span from 93, 94, 95, about 150 to be exact. I thought he was overrated. It was early in his career. He kind of was called up, called down. I thought he's just a good-looking Yankee, and people, girls liked him for that, and people were hyping him up for the aesthetics rather than the ball playing, and so I thought he was an overrated player. And so anytime I got him, I'd buy more and then just resell them. And so I probably went through in a 3-year span 150 of them, and probably sold them anywhere from a range to early on $10 because while he was a prospect, he wasn't a crazy market, to $50, a year or two in, when it was looking like he was becoming more popular. And man, would I love to have those 150 Jeter SPs back now. And so, timing is so important in the hobby, as most of us know. And but going back to the attachment stuff is, man, a lot of those cards that I didn't sell or took home or put in the back room and didn't put out, I lost those opportunities to sell them. And it's funny, I really did a garage condensement a couple years ago, a spring cleaning, if you will. And much of it was focused on, the right corner of that garage where I had a lot of my cards, monster boxes, shoe boxes, and that sort of thing. And I found some of those attachment cards, if you will, and we're talking, 2018, if you will. And we're talking, now 26 years after the fact. And, when I looked at some of those cards and remembered the backstory behind them, oh, yeah, I didn't put that in the store. I took it home. And I look at them, and I'm like, what are you thinking? Jeffrey Hammond or, someone of that ilk that just didn't pan out, or why did I like him so much where I wouldn't sell that card? So, love to have a do-over on some of those. And I think everyone's probably guilty of it in some form or fashion. And you know what? Sometimes it works out the other way, right? How many times I'm not going to sell this card. I'm not going to advertise. I'm going to keep it. And then it does go up. So there's two sides to that coin. But I will say, to be fair and honesty, much of my attachment cards did not pan out very well. And I'd love to do a do-over. And I'm going to take a minute to hear from a national sponsor. But when we come back, more about attachment. I don't know why, even all these years later, I don't know why I was like that on certain cards and why I wasn't like that. Certain cards I thought I would be like that, I wasn't. So I don't know. I don't know what, I guess at the time what goes through your head or mind is you don't know. And so, but I think we still do that today. I don't do that much now. I think I learned the hard way, like holding on to stuff too long. So I don't get attached to too much now. You know what I get attached to? I know it's going to sound sort of cheesy, is things people give me. It's not even so much the value, but sometimes people will send me something from the show. Hey, I enjoyed the show. I picked this up for you. I know you like Jackie Robinson. Or make me something, Max Gotcha from Michigan, and him and his dad and his brother have the sports card shop at Moco, the store, and they, I had him on this very show for the shop showcase, and he knew I liked Jackie Robinson, and he drew, and he's a very good artist for a young man. I think he's 9-10 years old. He hand drew the 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson for me and sent it to me with a nice note on the back and a nice note. And it's sitting on my desk right now. I'm literally looking at it as I record this. And that stuff is what I'm attached to, right? Stuff that has a story behind it, a backstory, Another listener, Matt Haas, had a custom wood bat made for the 1 year anniversary of Sports Card Nation a couple years ago. And if you watch any of my video content creative stuff, it's that bat you see hanging behind me on the wall. That's from a listener, a fan of the show, Matt, who very appreciative of the fact he had that bat made. It's stuff like that has that sort of value to me, more than even some of the other cards. And that personalization, and that's really it. Sure, some Jackie Robinson stuff I own. I'm attached to Mean Joe Green stuff. I'm a big, Steeler, but Mean Joe Green, Jackie Robinson are probably the two biggest guys at PC. Mark Messier is another one. Rangers, from his Ranger days. I'm a huge Ranger fan. So those three guys, I'd say, are probably my attachment cards for players. Chris Mullin, I don't have a ton of Chris Mullins, but the ones I do, like his rookie out of 86, 87 Fleer, some autograph stuff, that I'm attached to. Some Floyd Little stuff, I have a lot of Floyd Little autograph stuff that I have a sort of attachment, kind of getting to know the man if you will. And so where there's a story behind the cards, or why, somebody means something special to me, that's where now the attachment come in. But looking back in the 90s and 2000s, I was sort of all over the place when it came to attachment cards. And so I guess it's a cautionary tale. It's great to have a passion for this hobby, to have an attachment to certain things. Hey, I love this particular card. I stack this card. I buy 40 of this card whenever I can, and I keep adding to it. If I have a card like that, that's not an expensive card, it's the update Jackie Robinson from 2011, the anniversary, the cognac card, the all gold glittered out card. And that card, I have probably 30 or 40 of them. It's ranges anywhere from $4 to $10. It's not an expensive card. It's a cool looking card, and I just love kind of getting as many as I can. It's almost sort of a game, like how many can I acquire. And so right now, I think the last count, I'm in between 30 or 40 of those cards, and just keeping them. And some of them might say, what are you going to do with 30, 40? And if you get more, what are you going to do? How many do you need? When do you stop? And it's just one of those cards. I like the look of it, and so I just keep acquiring them when I can. I go on ComC or another platform, and just Sport Lots, and just look and see what's available and what prices, and throw them in my cart and buy them if it's priced right. And so that's how I got 30 or 40 of them. So I guess I have an attachment, even more so, not to just Jackie Robinson, but that particular card. Maybe because price wise it's affordable, and I just love the way it looks, the aesthetics of it. Peyton Manning's Stadium Club rookie is another one, although I have sold some, so I'm not completely attached, but one of the best looking cards in 98 Stadium Club football, in my estimation, one of the best aesthetically pleasing looking cards. Just really, if I had to pick one design that really does it for me, it's that, you might think I'm crazy out there, but check it out if you've never seen it, the 98 Stadium Club football. Overall, it's not a great release. I think the Manning rookie is probably the best card in there, and then after that, there's, probably a drop-off, and so maybe that's why people sort of don't talk about that much. But if you look at the design, forget the player even, just look at the design of that card, with the raised embossing, the holographic nameplate. It's just a really sharp card. I think we've lost some of that in the current times. We got to get back to really sharp looking designs where the designs themselves sell the cards, if you will. And so attachment can be good and bad. I don't think it's something you need to feel terrible if you're like that. I don't think it makes you a bad person. That's not what this episode is trying to get across. What I'm just saying is sometimes the timing of it can backfire, if you will. Maybe backfire is not even the right word, but maybe you lose an opportunity to transact something at a higher level, and then you never get that chance again. So I guess if my thing is, if you're going to be attached to a card, you better really love it, because that window of opportunity may close because of your attachment. And then again, that's a two-way street. There are examples where you get attached to a card when it's $10 and you get 10 or 20 of them, and it becomes, a $50 card, a $100 card, and now you're in really good shape. And if you can get that unattached where you sell it, you come out ahead. So attachment's a two-way street. I wanted to talk about it, and listening to other content. I try to do shows or content that I haven't heard, or, there's a lot of content creators out there. I don't obviously listen to every show, and so maybe someone has talked about it, but I try to do stuff that's a little bit different. So there you go. This week's episode is about attachment. If this struck a nerve or struck a chord with you. You have your own personal stories with cards maybe you're attached to. It don't even have to be high value stuff. It could be a card that's $1. I just like it, and I get as many as I can. Or, I could have sold this card and I did it, and I got attached to it, and it cost me money. If you have any personal stories like that you want to share, I'd love to hear them. So, with that being said, I hope you stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon. Hey folks, thanks for listening to the show. Wanted to give out our social media links where you can follow the show even when you're not listening to it. On Twitter, we are at Hits Hobby, HitsHobby. On Instagram, we are at Hobby Quick Hits Podcast, at Hobby Quick Hits Podcast, all one word. Our website is www.sportscardnation.net. Look for the link to Hobby Quick Hits. You'll find us there. And you can always text us on our text line, area code 315-491-0239.